Greetings and welcome to Season 2 of the Loaded Cart Podcast. Join us as we go on a magical journey through the craziness that is video games and the gaming industry. In this week's episode, we talk about one of Paul's favorite games, Game Dev Tycoon. Damn you all, games.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome once again to the Loaded Cart Podcast. It's time once again to put on our game developer hats. Well, let's be honest, we critique them all the time anyway. It's time for Game Dev Tycoon. I'm Paul of What's Paul Playing Today, and with me as always is Dan, otherwise known as Chop the Viking. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. How's it going?
You know, trying to buy a house. It's rather annoying.
Yeah, buying a house is definitely annoying.
Yeah.
I've done it twice.
I got nothing, dude. I'm frustrated, but I don't want to bleed that out into the podcast.
It's all right, man. I know how it is. Like, because yes, I've bought 2 houses, but that also means that I have failed to buy like 10 other ones.
I think that's
how it always goes.
I think this is my 5th one that I failed to buy so far.
Yeah, but just not the right one yet.
It's fine. We'll see. I think the fact that they're still at the negotiating table means that they're not ready to just be like, fuck you. Pardon my language.
Yeah, true. This is true. All right. What have you been playing lately?
Let's see. So with I'm stepping onto a plane tomorrow to head to Vegas, so I'll be playing a lot of my Switch, and I've been playing Tales of Vesperia, which was in the Tales series. If you're familiar, Tales of Symphonia, Tales of XYZ. There's a huge series of them. This is one of them that came out originally in like 2016 on Xbox 360 and the last generation consoles. Might have been earlier than that. I don't remember. Either way, this is the definitive edition, the super remake that came out. Some better HD textures, stuff like that, and they just ported it to Switch. Been playing that, obviously Overwatch, the usual, and in preparation for the amazing HD remake of Resident Evil 2, I've been playing Resident Evil HD Remaster. I know that Resident Evil 2 the remake is out, but I've been playing the remaster because I'm absolutely excited for that. Yeah.
I've heard good things about the remake of Resident Evil 2.
So it's funny, when I was streaming the remaster, one of the person came in chat, was like, "Oh, it's awesome with all the hype for the remaster or the remake. It's great to see someone playing this classic." I'm like, "Did you not like the remake?" And they're like, "No, I fucking hated it." That was their words, not mine. And I was like, "Huh, I have heard nothing but good things. I'm really sorry that you're disappointed in it."
Yeah, there's actually like a partial controversy surrounding it right now too, because I think it was IGN. I'd have to find it. But they posted a review of the game, and the guy complained that there's a kind of a plus mode playthrough you can do once you beat the game that has new stuff in it.
Okay.
And played from a different perspective.
Sure.
So basically, like one of the, what's his name? Leon Kennedy. Like, yeah, there's Leon's perspective. That's the first thing you play through, and then
Claire's perspective.
Yeah, and then there's a whole second like half of the game that's completely different, and from her perspective.
Yeah.
And what's funny is apparently this guy played through the game and then accidentally replayed through Leon's stuff as Claire.
Oh,
and he trashed the game and complained that they claimed all of this stuff, but really it's the same exact puzzles and the same exact monsters. And they had to like retract his review, adjust the score, and update it. It's
funny.
It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
the Rooster Teeth guys on the know were laughing about it a lot.
Oh, I'm sure. Like they openly mock things when they find them to be stupid,
Oh yeah,
and
they
I
openly
respect them
mock
for that.
themselves when they screw
Oh, for
things up.
sure.
It's hilarious. They've been doing it a lot lately.
Yeah, I've also been playing PUBG a lot lately, and I know I've been extolling the virtues of their fixed PUBG campaign, and actually that they did a lot to fix it, and I'm still consistently impressed with how much they've done to fix it. I mean,
Yeah,
there's still cheaters here and there that I've run into with 7 Days Dan. Um,
as you do.
yeah, I like you do. Other than that, well, if I can't remember it, it's not important.
Overwatch.
Of course. I mean, I mentioned that earlier. I said, of course, I was playing
Yeah.
Overwatch.
I missed that part.
I glossed over it
Paul,
because it's a given.
yeah, Paul is Mr. Overwatch. So yeah,
I generally will stream it Monday through Friday unless I'm doing something special like Resident Evil.
or Sea of Thieves. You've been playing Sea of Thieves lately.
That's a good point. I did play Sea of Thieves in my crew, my FIFA crew. We've been playing Sea of Thieves because it's been surprisingly hilarious to play.
Yeah.
It was on
So
the so if you do you already own it?
I already own it because I
Okay.
bought it when it came out, or
So
just prior to it coming out. I think.
so with the Xbox Game Pass is also crossplay, which
Mhm.
means you can play any Xbox Xbox crossplay compatible game. You can play it on Windows, and it was for $1 this month. So I was like, okay, it's $1. I'll play Sea of Thieves. I
Nice.
will play Sea of Thieves for $1.
Yeah, like I said, they've done a lot to update it. I said it in the last episode that like my main gripe is that I tend to have weird connection issues with it, which doesn't make any sense because I shouldn't.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, if you have friends, it is a fantastic game because there's just no end to the shenanigans you can get into.
There is a lot. There is a lot of shenanigans. Like I can if you want to post some of the clips from my stream in the show notes. We at one point were just kind of dancing in the middle of the boat and like, yeah, this is what Sea of Thieves is all about.
Yeah,
And then ran into a couple of guys on one of the hub islands, and
yeah,
basically we just kind of like let's exchange achievements. Like shoot me in the back of the head with a blunderbuss,
yeah.
because that's one of the achievements. If you shoot somebody in the back of the head, it's a I can't remember what it was called. Ignoring the rules of engagement is what it's called,
Nice.
because it's just being a cowardly act to kill somebody from behind. And then we all
Yeah.
got drunk and puked on each other.
Yeah, so one of the things the game has that's kind of entertaining is it has a series of musical instruments,
Mhm.
and there's like 3 or 4 of them, I think. Um, but much like Ultima Online back in the day, as more people play instruments, they sync up and make us more and more coherent and in-depth song.
Yep.
But what makes it hilarious is the drunker you are, the crazier the song gets.
The drunker you are, the poorer you play.
And it gets really really funny to do stuff like that. They just added like little Easter eggs in there that are kind of entertaining, but
Yeah, it's kind of great.
and it's
The
definitely a game that is better with friends.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the hard
Because
part about games like that. And they've actually made it a lot harder to play solo, which is unfortunate.
so the thing with that is that you can only crew you can really only crew the sloop solo.
Yes.
So it's a two-man. You can crew up to 2 people in that one. You go up to the brigantine next, which is up to 3, and
Yeah.
then the what I don't remember what the third one is. The galleon,
Maybe.
or is it might be the other way around. It might be galleon then brigantine. Either way, you can crew 2, 3, or 4 depending on the size of your ship.
Yeah.
And it feels like at the 4th level, it still feels like you're not enough crew.
Yeah. You could for it'd be a pain in the butt, but you could pilot the other 2 solo.
It's
It would be you would spend a lot of time running back and forth between sales.
it is
and
theoretically
rigging
possible,
yeah,
but it's not advised.
and you're not going to be able to see anything.
No, not at all. Not unless you have the sails raised to the point where it's not. There's no point in doing it anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
and not that people probably need this tip with the sloop, but if you're piloting it at solo, you can let go of the wheel, and if you turn around and walk to the railing and look down, you can see the map.
you can see the map. Yeah.
You don't have to actually go down below deck to check
Yep.
where you are on the map and if you're lined up for things or not. Like,
Which
it's
which
a
was
lot of fun.
which is the worst feature about the brigantine and galleon, because you can't do that, and that's really frustrating because you have to rely on somebody else to do it for you.
Yes, that's I think part of what makes it fun is the fact that the person steering can't see the map and can't
Can't see.
see in front of the boat.
Yeah.
So you
So you
need
have to rely on
someone,
everybody.
you have to have someone telling you where to turn and how much to turn, and then someone else letting you know whether or not you're on target for the island you're supposed to be going to. And like, I like the teamwork aspect of that. That's
Yeah.
actually one of the things that I
It's
want to play the Star Trek Bridge Commander with
oh
the
same.
Oculus Rift, like, because that just sounds really, really fun.
Of note, you can actually play that without the
Yeah.
Rift. Yeah, you can
I,
play that just in a monitor, which is kind of nice.
yeah. Yes. But
I will say
I want to
that
play with the Rift because that just sounds more fun.
I love the idea of the team aspect of the game as long as your friends aren't drunk off their ass.
I would think that would make it more fun.
Uh, you sink a
And for,
lot.
well, yeah, I would totally expect you to sink a lot. Like, that's half the point, right?
Uh, no. The point is to be pirates, not shitty pirates.
There's a difference.
Yeah, whatever. What are you even playing, dude?
All right. I've basically been playing two games recently. One of them is a mobile game. We've talked about a very similar game because it's made by the same guy,
Mhm.
which he's a solo developer. He made the was it Last Days on Earth was
Yep.
the survival game that we played for a little while, but he made a medieval version that's called Grim Soul Survival,
Mhm.
and it's definitely, making homages to Dark Souls, very, very
It's
heavy handedly blatant.
yeah. It's a reskin of his previous game with a few added new features.
Yeah, it mostly a reskin because there's a lot of stuff that it doesn't have and a lot of stuff that it does differently,
Yeah.
especially with the base building stuff. But I've had a lot more fun with it, and it's grindy because you have to like grind up materials to get your levels because stuff is
Yep.
spaced out so far apart. But it
Mhm.
hasn't been annoying grindy yet. Yet.
It I didn't find it super fun, but I'd be interested in doing co-op versions of it.
Yeah. But yeah,
Eh,
I mean, it's been fun to goof around with. I play it maybe 30 minutes a day. Just like I'll pop it up, use up all my energy, and then won't touch it till the next day.
that's fair.
Because it's like, yeah, I got my fix. This is good.
Fair
But
enough.
then the next game been playing leads into our first news story.
Indeed.
Because I've been playing a lot of Elite Dangerous. And there's a reason for this. And there's a big event going on in Elite Dangerous right now, that is a expedition that was put together by a bunch of players, and it's a bunch of players that put it together. There's a staff.
It's a
Like,
couple hundred, wasn't it?
no, it's there's probably about a dozen people that are planning and organizing it,
Okay.
because it is the first event that's been done that is for all three platforms the game is on. So
Mhm.
there's a group that's organizing and running the PC players. There's a splinter group that's organizing and running the Xbox One players, and then another one that's doing the PlayStation 4 players.
Right.
Um, but it's a sequel event. So about 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, there was a expedition that was called Distant Worlds,
Right. I
and
remember that.
it is actually uh so it was done as a group of players getting together to follow the footsteps of a previous expedition that was done that was called Distant Stars. And Distant Stars, the guy decided to go to this location in the game, which we've actually talked about on the podcast before, called Beagle Point, which
Right.
at the time it was the furthest possible system you could get to from Earth, and it's
Mhm.
65,700 and something light years from Earth, which is
Mhm.
really freaking far,
Yes.
considering at the time in the game, the maximum jump range for a ship was in the neighborhood of 41 light years if you stripped everything down to bare bones.
Yeah. Now it's what 500 or something like that.
No. uh 80 something is the highest.
Okay.
um
So almost double since then.
yes, the actually might be able to tell you. Let me see if it actually says it in here. I think it just says average in
Do
here.
you have Elite Dangerous up right now?
I do not have Elite Dangerous up.
Okay.
I have the distant I have the Distant Worlds 2 fleet statistics
Okay.
spreadsheet up. No,
Fair
the
enough.
high it's 84.21 light years is the highest jump range in the thing. But with the way engineering and stuff works now, every ship in the game can get a jump range above 40 light years. So every ship in the game can get a jump range higher than the ships that were used in Distant Worlds 1.
Hmm.
So, because they're doing this and because a lot of, people are like, "Oh, that's cool." And they're doing two things that are generally, if you're doing exploration in Elite Dangerous, they're like two big bucket list things that you do if you're an explorer. You go to Sagittarius A, which is the giant black hole in the middle of our galaxy,
Yeah.
and you go to Beagle Point, which is the opposite side of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. They're going to Sagittarius A and then they're
And
going
Beagle
to
Point.
Beagle Point. 13,000 players signed up for the expedition.
I did not.
No. And I I almost did not, but I was looking into it because they I mean, there are manuals and guidebooks that they made custom for this trip. And they're organizing it like there are different roles in the trip. There's like mechanics and fuelers and
Mhm.
miners and fleet security and like all kinds of like you sign up for a role. I'm actually signed up for photography and as a fleet mechanic
Nice.
because I wanted to take a whole bunch of screenshots, and I have been taking a whole bunch of screenshots. And if
Nice.
you want to see a lot of them, they're actually I'm posting them on Instagram because I don't do anything with Instagram. So
Yeah, why
I
not?
just
Might as well use it for something.
get chop the Viking on Instagram. Woo! Uh, shameless plug.
Why not?
Um, so they started in this system called Pallini, which is about 200 light years from Earth. Then they're going to Sagittarius A, and then they're going to Beagle Point. And are you familiar with a road race called Gumball Run or the Gumball 3000?
I've heard it, but I'm not as familiar. So
Yeah.
for treat me like I'm one of the listeners here.
So to explain how this expedition works, so I'm pretty sure there was an episode of Jackass where they entered like this beat up ass crappy van into the Gumball 3000.
Okay.
Um, it was either them or Viva La Bam. It might be Viva La Bam now that I think about it, because it sounds like Bam Margera would, buy an
Absolutely do that.
expensive ass car and do it, and then make all of his friends take a crappy van.
Seems right.
Yes. So basically, what the Gumball 3000 is it's a road race that happens every year in Europe, and a bunch of rich ass people get together and they, take a month off of work or something like that, and then they race for 3,000 miles. But it's
Mhm.
broken up into stages. So kind of like, the Tour de France and, bike races and stuff like that. So basically day one, they're like, all right, we're going to drive from Paris to Normandy. And they're like, get to Normandy as fast as you can. And we're going to have a big party in Normandy tonight.
Sure.
Go. And they like, literally will, have someone start them and they all take off and they exceed the speed limit and get tickets and do all kinds of ridiculousness. And, that night everyone gets to Normandy and they have a big party. And then the next day they're like, all right, cool. We're going from Normandy to Berlin. See you guys in Berlin. And they do the same thing. So that's what they're doing with Distant Worlds 2, is they're breaking down this trip into 5,000 light year segments. So you have a week ish normally between waypoints. And they're like, all right, cool. You have a week to make it to the next 5,000 light years. And I, what made me finally do it was looking up the fact that a ship with a 40 light year jump range takes about 2 hours to go 5,000 light years. So I was like, I can do that. I can put 2 hours a week into the game. Like, to do this. Like, that sounds
Yeah,
fine.
that seems like it's like a night of streaming, and then you can go do something else you want to.
Exactly. But what I've been doing is taking my time, and like they've been breaking it down and posting maps of like, hey, here are some cool sites you can see along the way. So I've been stopping at each one and checking them out. And one of the more funny ones, we were talking a little bit before the show started, there's one called the View, which is, it's a system, and it's got a big star and a what's a pulsar, which are very dangerous to go near. Um, but it's got this planet not very far away from the sun, that it's a terrestrial planet, so you can land on it, but it's got a giant ring system in it, and everything's pink and it looks all crazy. And so it's like, one of the things you do is you land there and you kind of like drive out and you take a picture of these crazy pink rings and this pink planet and the sun in the background, and it just, it looks cool, and it's called the View. But what most people don't
Does it
think about,
have 4 really annoying people on it?
no, it's
Okay,
a different the View.
I understand.
It has a bunch of corpses on it though, apparently.
I wish they were. No, I'm kidding.
So the thing about the View is, if you think about science at all, most planets that have a giant ring have a giant ring because they're, huge gas giants that, have a lot of mass, and they're able to keep all of that debris in a tight, uniform orbit. Except this is like a little planet that's smaller than Earth that has this giant ring system, and you're just like, this looks ridiculous as you're landing on it. And if you're not paying attention, it's got, like 3, almost 4 times the gravity of Earth, and people aren't paying attention to it. So more than 30 people have died on this trip in the first day on
Just because
trying to land on the View, because they're like, all right, cool, I'm just going to come in for a gentle landing, and they don't realize they're
crunch.
going like 150 meters a second into the planet, and they blow up. And I might have to see if I can find it, but there's a guy who had posted a YouTube video where he just parked on the planet near the visitor's beacon, because there's like a little beacon to land at that gives you like the best view of the sun in the background and like all of that stuff. And he he just parked there and like made a montage of people crashing into the planet
Crunch,
and
crunch,
blowing up.
crunch.
It's like, oh, that's beautiful. I almost did. I like, went down to, I wasn't paying attention, but I managed to slow down enough that like my hull went down to like 45%. Like when I
Right,
hit the ground, like I
right.
smacked it pretty good. But I was able to repair myself because I'm a fleet mechanic, and I brought a repair limpet controller and some limpets. So I just sent out the robots to repair my ship.
Nice, nice.
But one of the fun things about this event is that Frontier is like supporting it, the company that makes Elite Dangerous, and
Yeah.
they have a series of in-game events planned for like to coincide with it. So like this first waypoint, I've actually had more than an extra week to catch up, because they had a community goal at the system that they stopped at, where they were mining stuff to their, part of the thing is they're going to build a space station at Sagittarius A, so that
Right.
people that are flying there can like, land and refuel and repair in the middle of the galaxy and blah 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 blah. So they
Sure.
mined all of the resources to go towards Sagittarius A this past weekend.
Mhm.
And so normally when they make a community goal, there are like 7 or 8 tiers that they do for a community goal.
Right.
They hit tier 8 in the first day of the community goal, because there are so many players in this system and they
Nice.
have nothing better to do than to help.
Nice. Nice.
So they kept adding tiers, and I think eventually they completed tier 11, which is like, they're, each tier is exponentially more work than the one before it. But the other funny thing that happened is that more than 10,000 people showed up for the beginning of the event, and they all tried to jump out of Polini for the first at the same time. And the servers
How many?
promptly melted and went offline.
Okay. I was wondering how many people crashed.
No, no, the server crashed. No one
Yeah,
else crashed,
yeah,
just the
clearly
server.
the server just was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, it took them like an hour and a half to get the server back online, and they had all kinds of connection problems that night. It was fantastic.
I bet.
Uh, but there's some really cool stuff that's been going on surrounding it too. That's been really weird because like they've been getting lots of news coverage for it
Nice.
because it is the largest in-game event in the history of MMOs, which
Yep.
is very bizarre but kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
but one
previously
of
the
the
largest one was like a wedding in World of Warcraft that got raided and a lot of people died, if I remember correctly.
well, there's been some stuff in Eve Online that have been like huge
Oh,
battles that
right,
involve
right.
1,000 players, but this is 13,000 people, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's mad.
but one of the interesting things is there are scientific journals that have covered it as a news story. Like there's one
That's
that's
awesome.
called New Scientist, I think, and it actually made it into their print edition for this month, which is bonkers. But
Yeah.
one of the other cool things, and we'll kind of we'll post this in the show notes. The An astronaut named Chris Hadfield. If you
Hmm.
are unfamiliar with Chris Hadfield, he is the was the commander of the International Space Station for a while, and he's the guy who recorded music videos of himself playing songs with an acoustic guitar, and very kind of famously did the David Bowie cover of Space Oddity on the
Hmm.
International Space Station, floating in a tin can,
Yeah, yeah.
in zero G. Uh, but he wrote a letter of encouragement to the guy who organized Distant Worlds and Distant Worlds 2, and to all of the people participating, but directly to him. And it says, like, Dear Dr. Kai, which is his in-game name. I don't know if he's actually a doctor or not. I have no idea.
Eh,
But
for the sake of argument, let's say yes.
yeah, on behalf of all space explorers, past, present, and future, I wish you and every crew member in the Elite Dangerous Fleet a challenging, fulfilling, and ultimately successful voyage across the galaxy. Per ardua ad astra, Chris.
I love it. I love it.
So like just the weird little things that kind of have spun up around it are kind of cool. And yeah, I'm going to have fun with it for the next 20-ish weeks or so, at least, I'm sure. So probably be talking about this in December when I finally get back.
Nice.
uh,
Nice.
but yeah, there's also some cool stuff. Like someone made there's like an official logo for it, like Distant Worlds and Distant Worlds
Hmm.
2, but someone made a mission patch, and they've commissioned mission patches to be made, and I might have ordered one
Hey,
because
I mean, I
that's
mean,
awesome.
let's be honest here. If I have an Overwatch League jacket for the LA Valiant, a bunch of Overwatch merchandise, I can't. Like, I even bought the freaking Pip Boy, for crying out loud. I can't
Yeah.
fault you for getting a mission patch.
Yeah, but like I'm also debating on getting a flight jacket and putting the mission patch on it for
Why not?
fun.
Why not?
I just think it'd be funny. Uh, but yeah, so next bit of news.
Yeah.
You love this news, and it's
I really did.
fantastic.
I think it's hilarious, and I love every bit of this because one, the game itself is surprisingly entertaining. Like,
Yeah.
it's in really surprisingly engaging. You don't expect something like this to be engaging, but here we are. Farming Simulator 19 now has an official esports league.
Yep.
They're developing a new 3v3 game mode, a full league complete with a world championship at FarmCon with up to 250,000, as that
Euro.
pound sterling, euros,
Euros.
up for grab in the prize pool.
Yep.
I honestly don't think we need to comment on that much.
Yeah.
I really
Well,
don't. It speaks for itself.
apparently last year they did kind of like a prototype of the league, and now they're like, okay, cool. We have it. We have some ideas. We know what we want to do, and they're apparently they're doing some kind of special 3v3 game mode that they're making. Like
Sure, why
they're
not?
we'll put the press release in the show notes because the press release is kind of funny. But
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're like, how would you do a farming simulator
You know what? I'm not even questioning it.
esports? Like,
I'm
I
not
want
even
to watch
questioning
it.
it. I'm in for this.
Like, I want to
I'm in.
watch it because it sounds interesting.
Yeah. Like I'm not even questioning any of that. Like I don't know how they're gonna do it. I don't care. I'm
Yeah,
in. I'm
yeah.
in. Like sign me right the hell up. I'm in.
Well, we'll have to find out when the first one happens, and we'll have to watch it and review it. We'll
Yes.
do.
Sold.
It's an episode.
Yes. Sold.
Mark our words right now. A future episode reviewing the Farm Simulator esports.
Yes. Sold. 100%. I'm in. Like you don't need to you don't have to tell me anymore. I'm like I'm on board.
All right.
You had me at hello.
Nice. All right. We have 2 WTF things to talk about here. Do we want to do more WTF Bethesda, or do we want to
let's leave Activision for now. I want to talk about Bethesda real quick.
Right.
Drew, I'm sorry if we lose you as a listener, but we're gonna do a little bit more Bethesda bashing right now.
Well, so that's so the thing is, like, listen to the most recent episodes of Hops and Heroes, and Drew talks about how much he actually enjoys Fallout 76, and he hates that, like, he hasn't been having fun listening to people bash on it. And like, I want to say that yes, we have not played Fallout 76. I'm not bashing Fallout 76. Like,
No,
none
we're
of
bashing
our
Bethesda.
none of our discussion that we've been having has been, Fallout 76 is terrible, it's bad, you should never play it. I think Bethesda has been having this massive series of just like, what are you doing moments.
Yes.
And every time they try to improve something, like, it somehow manages to go horribly wrong and it gets worse. And it's just like, come on, dude. We know you guys can do better than this. Like, why is this go? And some of it may just be that there's such a huge spotlight on them right now that, like, stuff like this has happened in the past and no one cares. But like, it's just so prominent right now that it's like, I think people are just, they're fed up with a lot of the just weird stuff going on in the game industry right now, that it's just like people are willing to put companies on blast even more than they normally do. Like, I don't know, but
so you've seen the meme for Bad Luck Brian, right?
I don't know.
Okay, so Bad Luck Brian is the guy who's smiling. He's got a goofy look on his face and is always like, he tries to do something nice and then everything goes wrong. Bethesda is Bad Luck Brian. Having not played Fallout 76 and having no interest or intent to play Fallout 76, I got nothing. Like, I have nothing against it. I'm not going to play it. I don't want to bash it. I want to bash Bethesda for doing what are you doing?
And I have the same stance on Fallout 76 that I've had since they announced it, which is I want to play it. Like, I'm interested in it. I think it's a great idea. I would like to play the game. On principle, I am not buying the game until 2 things happen. Private servers are released, because that's one of the things that they promised when they talked about the game.
Under $20.
Community mods are available.
Okay.
Because they said
happen.
The two things that they promised when they announced the game were that there would eventually be private servers and player-made community mods would be available for the game.
They did, but have you noticed that their stance recently has been putting the kibosh on those?
Well, because they're not officially supported yet, and the only way to get them in the game right now is to hack them in. But that's the stance I'm having. It's like, I'm watching the game, I'm seeing how things go. Some of the stuff is interesting. I would still love to play the game. But these are the things that are important to me for Bethesda games. Like, one of the player mods are important to me for Bethesda games because, let's face it, almost every game Bethesda has ever made gets improved with player mods. Like, they're just little, like,
quality of life.
Fallout 4, one of the best quality of life mods for Fallout 4 that you install day one when you play Fallout 4 is one that tells you exactly what each of your 4 responses is going to say, instead of just a vague hinting of what it might say that it doesn't actually say.
Sarcastic, disapproval.
Yeah.
And okay, sure.
Yeah. That's
what's it going to do?
Yeah. So but little things like that, where just like little tweaks to the way the game works that improves them, that for some reason Bethesda is not going to do. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see the little mods like that. I don't care about the big crazy like, oh, hey, I can have a lightsaber in Fallout 4 and kill people instantly
Who
with
cares?
it. Like who cares? Like I don't care about a lot of that crazy stuff. Like but there are genuine like, oh, here's improved shaders. Here's a reskin of like all of the stuff in the game to make it look
Mhm.
better. Like that's the stuff I want to see that isn't allowed right now.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that the community does 100 times better than their store does. Like that's been one of the big critiques of both the Skyrim store and the Fallout 4 store, is that a lot of the stuff there is basically, there are free mods available that do the exact same thing,
Or
do
do it
them
better.
do them better and look better,
Yeah.
and they're free.
Yeah.
And it's just like it, that. But again, this is what I'm waiting for, because when a company makes a promise like we are going to allow player mods eventually,
Yeah.
I say cool,
I expect them to keep it.
let me know. Like, and that's what'll happen, like eventually down the road, if they have player mods available and they
And
release the
private
private
servers?
servers like they say, I'll play the
Okay.
game, and I'll probably play on the open servers too. But these are two big features that were promised, and if they don't show up, I don't show up. But I, like I say, I'm still interested in the game. I want it to do well. uh
Yeah. And I don't hate on Bethesda so much as I'm just disappointed in them, because I know that they are capable of doing better. I know
yeah,
they've done better in the past. Yeah, they put out horse armor, but other than that, Oblivion was a masterpiece.
yeah, and they put out things in the past like trying to make jokes about horse armor, and it's like, dude, just don't,
Just stop. Just
just
stop.
please,
Don't
just
do that. We know you screwed up. We know you think it's a meme. Stop
it,
referencing it.
it is a meme, but
Yeah.
it's not a meme you need to talk about.
Yeah. Yep. And
But
the thing is that and I think that players are finding it insulting with the fact that they're embracing the broken game meme status and not really releasing a game that is 100% up to any sort of quality standard beyond, hey, you can play it.
yeah, but I don't know. Like a lot of it feels like if they had called it early access, they wouldn't have had half of these problems.
Sure.
And but that's who are we to say? But the
Hi, I'm
news,
Paul.
yeah, the news that, to add to what was talked about last time, is there's been a couple other crazy things that's been going on. Uh,
Mhm.
First of all, there's a trend in a lot of Bethesda games, and I think in just a lot of games in general, where the developers will put a workshop room in the game and they'll hide it somewhere where players just can't physically access it. Like it's somewhere off of the map that, they can just teleport to and then teleport back or whatever. And usually what they do is uh they put weapons in there, sometimes overpowered weapons. They put in some cases ways to learn all of the recipes in the game,
Yeah.
stuff like that, so that they don't, like when they're testing things, they can just like snap things off really quick and
Yep.
and test it and be on their way. Well, people have found these in some of the previous Bethesda games. Like I think they found the one in Fallout 4. I think there's been either Skyrim or one of the other games they've found one in. Like it's
Mhm.
it's not nothing new. Like it's been found because people can, they can clip through stuff in those games because they have access to console commands, and they can teleport places and, do all kinds of other crazy shenanigans to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
access to them. But players got access to the developers workshop room in Fallout 76.
Which, let's be
And
honest here, that's not supposed to happen because,
correct.
one, you really can't do cheats unless you're hacking
Yes.
into it.
And that is the thought that I read or and heard about, was that they were using some kind of third party software and managed to get into it.
Right.
Uh, but they also, Bethesda, from the looks of it, did not know how they got in. Like, doesn't understand what broke that allowed them to get access. And
Yeah.
as part of the thing is, apparently they banned all the players that got access to it.
Yep.
And then they basically sent them an email being like, hey, we will unban your account if you tell us how you got in, which, you know, doesn't sound good, but also may not actually be true because, you know, people can make stuff up to make a company look bad. Who knows?
Right.
But
Right.
people do know 100% there is video of people getting into the workshop and messing around with
Yeah.
it. And
There's been numerous articles showing the video
yeah,
of those things.
and there is this kind of ties into the next thing where people have been selling in-game loot and Fallout 76 on websites like eBay and stuff like that, and they'll sell like rare guns and armor and stuff for like some of them more than $10 a pop.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, hey, we have these crazy, you know, machine guns and I have 30 of them for sale. And it's just like, yeah, someone's been in the developer room.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's funny.
so and it's, you know, that is can kind of be attributed to because like the guy that I heard that about from was a guy who is an MMO developer, and he's just like, you know, hey, Blizzard went through this, you know, 10 years ago, and a lot of other MMO companies went through it, and this is a new MMO for Bethesda, so they haven't learned this lesson yet, which is basically like I all of the good loot in World of Warcraft is either bind on account or bind on pickup.
Yep.
Like as soon as you pick it up, there is no, you know,
There's no secondary market anymore.
yeah, there's no secondary market in WoW for weapons. There is for gold, but yeah, like you can't go buy, you know, some super huge awesome weapon of doom in World of Warcraft anymore because it's not possible to transfer that stuff to other people, right? But yeah, who knows? Like it's just kind of a funny thing that's cropped up. It's just like, okay, like it, and the important thing is like hopefully Bethesda, you know, sees the stuff and they kind of go like, God damn it, and then they fix it and they, you know, they move on because you know that part of the testing of this game is like Starfield might have online multiplayer elements.
Yeah.
The Elder Scrolls 6 will probably have, you know, online elements.
All I want is an online like a 4-person squad Fallout game or a
Yeah.
4-person squad Elder Scrolls game. That's all I've ever wanted.
Yeah.
What I got was Fallout 76 and the Elder Scrolls Online. I didn't want those things.
We also got Battlespire, which was a 4-player Elder Scrolls game, but
When was this?
1996-ish.
Okay, did anybody actually know about this aside from this particular little bit of trivia?
I did. I played it.
Okay, sure.
it
That was
it came out after Daggerfall
okay.
and before Morrowind.
Okay.
Around the same time that they dabbled in other games like Redguard and one other weird game. They did an adventure game and another style game in the Elder Scrolls series, which is like, again, most people have never heard of unless they go on good old games. But yeah. And then the thing I saw today, which is kind of funny, is apparently in Bethesda's like online merch store, they
Yeah.
have
Oh Jesus.
a nearly $300 Fallout 76 leather jacket, which not, you know, this isn't a WTF thing, but mostly it's been funny just because like
The memes. Yeah.
the all of the memes on Twitter have been absolutely hilarious. So people like putting like plastic bags with 76 on them and all kinds of other really funny stuff, making fun of the whole canvas bag fiasco. And that's the only reason I included
Yeah.
here because like you should go look at it because it's funny and
It's pretty great,
it's
honestly.
just kind of it's people just, you know, take piss out of Bethesda because they can. And
Yep.
you know, take the ribbing. You know, who knows how many they'll sell. They actually look really good. Like because they look like basically the jumpsuit, like the actual Fallout jumpsuits, but
Mhm.
you know, it's a leather jacket instead of the little canvas onesie jumpsuit. But it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's cool. All right.
But
Lops.
the people that need to be yelled at even more. Like, so Activision lately has been doing some really shady microtransaction stuff, and like it's bad. Like, we talked about some of the microtransaction stuff that Bethesda did in the in Fallout 76, but like
Mhm.
this is, I would say, worse,
Yeah.
because it's like the idea is that it's kind of grooming to make future like more egregious microtransactions
Mhm.
tolerable, because like
Right.
the idea is that that whole phenomenon of like, the cooking a frog, where if you gradually heat up the water, they, don't realize they're being cooked to death,
Yep.
kind of thing. And so basically Black Ops 4 released, and people bought it because it had this, great uh
Battle Royale mode.
battle royale mode added to it that people loved.
Mhm.
And everything's cool. And then a few weeks later, they add a microtransaction store to the game that wasn't there at launch. And
Mhm.
people are like,
Wait a
did,
minute.
did you do this just to get better reviews at launch so more people would buy the game?
Hmm.
And so people, all right, this is a little shady, all right, I guess we'll tolerate this, whatever. And then a couple weeks ago, a red circle went up for sale on their store for $1.
Mhm.
There's 100 Call of Duty points, which is basically $1.
Yeah.
Um, and it's purely cosmetic, and no one other than you can see it because it's a reticle for your red dot sight. And instead of a dot, it's a little red circle,
Yeah.
and it's $1. And people were
Yeah.
like, "WTF?
Yep.
What do you? What is this?
What the F are you doing?
Why are you stupid?" Admittedly, now it's half price at 50 points, so it's only 50
Mhm.
cents, but still, why? You know, and
Yeah.
then uh last week, which will be a couple weeks ago when this goes live, they put another custom uh dot site on the store, and it's a smiley face that's $2.
Mhm.
And someone pointed out, and I'll put a video in the show notes of a guy talking about it. It was available in past Call of Duty games for free, like that,
Yeah.
a smiley face site on for your little holographic and red dot sites, and they're charging $2 for it. And one of the other reviews that I heard, because there is someone in the UK, so it's like a almost 2 pounds, or it's like a pound 76 or pound 78 or something like
Mhm.
that in the UK. And he went on Steam and he's like, I can buy indie games for the amount of money that this smiley face costs in Call of Duty. Full indie games
Yeah.
for the
A lot of
cost of
them.
a smiley face.
It's a
And it's just
construct
like
that.
it is like, and this is what people are fed up with. This is like, why are you nickel and diming us to death on a $60 game? And again, if this was a completely free game, free to play, people wouldn't care, because it's like cosmetic upgrades like that and cosmetic stuff like that, people fully accept and don't care. But when you nickel and dime little stuff like this that was used to be earnable in game, used to be given away for free, and now it's locked behind a paywall, is when people start getting upset, and makes
Yeah.
makes us say, WTF, Activision,
I
what are
will
you doing?
say I will say that by contrast, in a better light, um, PUBG has actually debuted a free version of PUBG called PUBG Lite. That, if you have ultra low PC settings, don't really have the heavy beefy one that it requires. Let's see here. Our goal for PUBG Lite is simple: deliver the PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds experience to players in areas where the core game's required specifications are more difficult to achieve due to the hardware available. To this end, the PUBG Lite team is focused on balancing lower hardware requirements without compromising our quality standards. The end result is a build that is playable even on computers and laptops utilizing integrated graphics. So the minimum system requirements are like Windows 7, 8, or 10, 64-bit, an i3 2.4 gig, 4 gigs of RAM, Intel HD graphics 4000, and 4 gigs of hard disk. The recommended is like an i5 with 2.8, 8 gigs of RAM, and like a GeForce, like a GTX 660 or Radeon HD 7870,
Mm-hmm.
which are old cards.
Yeah.
really old cards. I love the idea that companies are like this saying, "Hey, we have this
and
great game. Why don't we
and
just
it's
here you go?"
free.
Yes, I play.
PUBG Lite is free to play.
Yeah, just take it. Here, have fun.
So I bet it's the mobile version of the game.
I would not be surprised one bit.
I
And
bet,
honestly, the mobile version is great.
yeah.
Have you
But
played it?
the mobile version of the game, I've played a little bit, doesn't feature 100 players. It has
Mm-hmm.
bots also.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of the things that I bet. I'm betting that it is a basically just a
A
recompile
port.
of the mobile version
Yeah,
of the game, and that way it runs a little smoother and needs lower hardware and
and,
whatnot.
and that's
But
fine.
yeah, again, no complaints. Like that's
No, like I'm 100% on board with a. Here you go.
yeah,
Have at it. Go have fun. Kill each
yeah.
other. We don't care.
So
So we've been an
yeah,
hour in this podcast, and we still haven't
almost.
talked about Game Dev Tycoon.
Yeah, these WTF moments are
We've got a lot of them. We're
yeah,
sorry, but we're not
and
really sorry.
and to be fair, I'm really excited about Distant Worlds too. So
Oh, totally understandable.
I'm going to gush poetic about that for a while. So you're gonna have to deal with that for the next year.
Yeah, until pretty much December. It'll be fine.
I'll be giving you updates. I'll be giving you updates.
So let's talk about Game Dev Tycoon. I've been wanting to do this for a while because I remember playing it back when it first released, and I actually backed the game. Like I helped get Greenheart the money to make this real because I
Nice.
loved the idea of basically a game dev simulator. It's
Yeah.
just such a silly concept that it just works for me.
Yeah. And we've been waiting for a long time to do this because this was the game that we had on the schedule to do after it was Paul's favorite game. So it was basically
Yeah,
like we were going to play South Park and then we were playing this at the same time and then we were going to do this
and
episode and then the world
and
blew
then
up
life
and
happened. You know,
but it's been interesting because we've had, well, again, both had time to play through it. I never played the game originally. Like this is the first
yeah,
time I played it. And I've also very interestingly never played it on PC
nope.
because like
By
a
the
week after we agreed that we were going to play it, they announced that they were releasing it on mobile for iOS and I think Android also.
yeah, it's on
And
Android.
that like it was coming out in 2 weeks. And I was like, all right, sweet. I'm just gonna wait and play it on my iPad.
Perfect. And honestly, from what you've been telling me, it's a seamless
No,
game. Like that, nothing is lost.
it is perfect for mobile, I think. So basically, if you don't know the game, it's kind of it's a simulator tycoon game. So a lot like the Zook Tycoon and Prison Tycoon and stuff like that. Like you're making decisions on what you want the game to be. So you make different combinations of things, but which we'll talk about here in a minute. But essentially, the only things you ever do are tap selection buttons and slide sliders. So it is absolutely perfect for mobile. There's nothing complicated going on. Like you don't need joystick controls or anything. Like this is absolutely perfect for devices. And I've been playing it on my phone all day as kind of like a refresher to like, because I haven't played it in a month or two. But so I picked it up today and I started playing through it to kind of remind myself how everything works. And it's been great on phone. Like I highly recommend it, especially if you have like a slightly larger phone, because of mine it's like, I don't know, 6+ inches diagonal. So
Right.
I have the iPhone 9. So
Yeah, yeah.
the yeah, it looks great on it. Works really good on an iPad too. If you have like a full size iPad, it looks really good.
Hmm.
And like very very minimal animations going on, but for the most part it's you know you select things and you hit go and then you
It
wait a
does
little
the
bit and
thing,
then you select some more things and you hit go.
and it does
It's
the thing.
exactly it.
It's. I think it loses some things graphically, maybe, but I'm not
Probably
entirely
not very
sure
much
because I haven't
because
seen it.
it's 2D. Like it, all of it's 2D art. Like there's nothing, I don't think there's anything for it to lose graphically. um it's got like basically the most. I'm sure there's some animations of people like typing
Yeah,
and stuff at the desk, and
that's what I
like
was thinking.
you can see that like it's there. But the other thing that happens is like I don't know if this happens on PC because this might be different. But like as you're working, each of the little workers, like as they
The bubbles.
the artistic bubbles and
Yeah,
stuff like float up to the top of the screen.
yeah, that happens on
Yep.
PC.
So I'm
Huh.
pretty sure it's almost exactly the same.
It's probably just a direct port with a different menu
Probably. I mean, it just
because it's an incredibly lightweight game. I think it took me less than 3 seconds to download.
yeah. Actually, I can tell you how big it is on mobile if you give me a couple minutes. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a tiny game.
I mean,
Um,
let's see here. For all right, I'm scrolling through too for Game Dev Tycoon. Take a look at what the size is. Properties.
181 and a half megabytes.
I can't imagine it's much larger than that. Unfortunately, Steam doesn't allow very much in the way of 158.
Yeah.
So slightly less on
Yeah.
iOS and Android. Anyway, so it's basically so the way Game Dev Tycoon works, it takes you from essentially the advent of the original Nintendo with
Oh, no, it goes earlier than
it
that.
goes further than that. No, it does.
PC and Commodore 64.
Yeah, Commodore 64, or what was it?
The
What was the
G64.
G64? So from there, it goes all the way up to the Play System 5 and the Mbox Next. So
Yes.
basically, the next generation of consoles that are going to come out, it goes almost, I think it was 35 years, or it could go up to 42, depending on what difficulty you went with.
Yeah. So basically, there's three different difficulties in the game. There's one that's 30 years, which is the slightly harder version because you have less time to earn money.
Yep.
There's 35 years, which is normal.
Yep.
And then there's it's either 40 or 42.
I think it was like
That's
42.
easy because you have again more time to earn
Plenty of
money.
time, yeah. And there's plenty of time to do money, earn money, do research, build your own. You can even get to a point where you build your own console.
Yeah, which is
It's
sounds
very
crazy.
interesting. It's a
I
very interesting take on how game development is done.
Yeah, and there's some really good stuff because they like make fun of the Ouya, which was a crowdfunded
It's a blip
console.
for like less than a year.
Yeah, it was an Android based console that someone made on Kickstarter, and they were selling it for like $100, and I think
Yeah.
Razer bought it eventually in
Yep.
real life,
Yep.
um, and turned it into
The
one of
Razer
their
tablet.
yeah something like that.
Yeah. Or
One
like
of their
the Razer console top or something like that, like
yeah
the TV top. I can't remember what it was.
yeah.
Long story short,
I
it
don't
was
think it
short
matters.
lived and silly.
Yeah. Um. So the other interesting thing that this game is kind of known for, and that there's kind of like a little bit of a controversy around, is that they actually took a big stance against game piracy
Yep.
by building a joke into the game. So the original PC version of the game would actually do a check somehow, like they built it into the system to check whether or not it was legitimately purchased or it was a pirated copy of the game.
Yep.
And if it determined that it was a pirated copy of the game, it would change the way that the game actually worked, and
Mm-hmm.
your game studio in the game would have all of their games pirated and would have this really big problem with piracy and stuff, and
Yeah.
you would lose more and more and more revenue to piracy until you eventually go bankrupt.
Right.
Or you have the option to keep fighting the piracy by developing more and more digital rights management.
Yep.
But the more digital rights management you use, the more it pisses off your fans and you lose fans, which is also important to the game.
Yep.
And the amazingly brilliant part of this is that you periodically would get angry fan emails for all of the digital rights management and stuff.
Yeah.
And the emails are actually verbatim quotes that the company that built the game received for their pirated mode and digital rights management they put in the game, which I think is absolutely
It's
brilliant.
great. Of note, you can also do this on the PC version, just in case you were wondering if that was an option. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that these are honestly, there's no difference between the two.
Yeah.
It's just
There
visual
yeah,
differences.
there is when you start a game, there's like there's a few things you can do. You name your company,
Yep.
you name
Name
yourself,
yourself.
you
Choose
pick
your difficulty.
pick you pick gender, you pick
Hmm.
your hair and your
Yep.
outfit, and then you pick your difficulty, like how long, how many years you want the game to last. And
And
then
whether or
there's
not you want pirate
another
mode.
option that's just you can turn on pirate mode or leave it off.
I love that they added that in because they originally did that and didn't put it in, and then eventually added it from popular request because people thought it was so funny.
Yeah, and I assume there's probably an achievement for it,
I want to say there is. Let me check real quick. So I
but
have a ton of locked achievements still.
yeah,
Do,
who
do, do,
knows?
do, do, do. Oh, there's a bunch of hidden achievements. So, oh yeah, against all odds, it's called beat all odds and finish the game in pirate mode.
Nice. Yeah, that's got to be hard
Oh, it's
because
got to be
it's
insane.
and we'll talk about this in a little bit. It's actually can be really difficult to make it to the end of 35 years
Yeah, it can absolutely be difficult.
because
I ended
there's a
up.
thing you hit or that I hit a couple of earlier today that I sent Paul a really funny picture of
Yeah.
where I got in a weird because I timed a research poorly and spent too much money and ended up having to borrow money and then just got into this huge death spiral of having to constantly borrow money and
Yep.
repaying it at poor times and having to
Yeah.
borrow more money and like yeah eventually
It's just like real life.
yeah eventually just went in the tubes and had to call it a day. But let's talk about how the game works.
Yeah.
So when you start the game, I actually one more question about PC versus mobile. So in mobile, when you start a new game, you have the option to keep all of your research from prior playthroughs.
Hmm.
Is that also the case in the PC version?
I haven't tried.
Yeah. Because like that's the first thing it says is like, hey, do you want to keep all of your prior research or start over, start over?
Hmm. I have not tried,
Okay.
but now you have me curious. Yeah, I just fired it up. Not even sorry.
Yeah, I can see. Steam just told me.
Yes.
What's
Let's
Paul
see
playing?
here.
It's now playing Game Dev Tycoon.
Um. Okay. It doesn't say anything about keeping research. You
Like
can
it tells,
unlock your hints.
yeah, that one. Does it tell you
It
to
says
like?
unlock hints, but that's about it.
But that does that what it tells you? Does it say like you can keep all the hints that you got from previous
Oh,
playthroughs?
yeah. That's
Okay,
it. Moving along.
okay, so it is the same. Yeah, that sounds like it's exactly the same on mobile, but and mobile's super. I mean, sure the PC version's cheap now too, but I think the mobile version might be like $4, $5. I think I paid
Yeah,
for it.
it's the Game Dev Tycoon version on PC is currently normally $10. It's currently $4.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Yeah.
So the way it works when you first start the game, you are randomly, I think, given four starting genres that you can make for
Yes.
games.
And you're a garage programmer. You start
Yes.
it out of your own garage as your office.
And there are a metric boatload of genres in this game. Like it is almost ridiculous how many genres there are. I think it's probably getting close to 50 and it's just
I want to
yeah.
say it's around there. Yeah. I mean, I can scroll for a while when I'm going through the list.
Yeah. For example, like I mean, and it's everything you would think a game would be. Like so there's like just random examples. There's, city building, there's comedy games, cyberpunk games, evolution games, extreme sports, fantasy, medieval, superheroes, time travel, horror, and where what you do is you pick a genre and then combine it with one of 6 styles of games. So there's action, adventure, RPG, simulation, strategy, and eventually you learn casual.
Mm-hmm.
But you start with 5. So you start with action, adventure, RPG, simulation, and strategy. And so you have these permutations of games that you can make for the 2 systems you have access to at the beginning. And then as you build a game, you make design choices in the game. So in the first stage, you choose between, and these are where the sliders come in. So you have X amount of time to develop your game. And in stage 1 of game development, you put time into designing the engine,
Right.
designing gameplay, or designing story/quests.
Right.
And you adjust the sliders of how much time you want to spend on each one.
Yep.
And then stage 2 rolls around and you get dialogue, level design, and AI.
Mm-hmm.
And then when stage 3 rolls around, it's world design, graphics, and sound.
Yep.
And then depending on the research that you've done throughout it, you kind of have other options you can tag on and off, like save games and
Yeah.
different graphics engines and sound, whether you're doing mono or stereo or just basic
Or
bleeps and bloops.
arthroscopic 3D or something like that.
Yeah.
There's also other stuff you can put in, like as you gain more and more familiarity with the game type, it'll give you, this is plus plus plus, like you really should put more time in this, or less time in this, et cetera, et cetera. And there's also in the as you're going through, sometimes you'll have someone come in and interview you, like, hey, would you like to do an interview? And you're like, yeah, sure, why not? And they're like, well, the industry generally agrees that this and this, what do you think should be done? And then you, like, it gives you kind of like 2 different options. Is it like an action game with story and quests, or an RPG with better sound? Like, what do you invest most of your time in? And you choose from one of the options, and generally it's pretty easy to figure out which one you should be doing. And they would like, oh, people generally agree with this, and you can either gain fans or lose fans depending on that. There's a lot of little mini games, not mini games, but mini questions to gain fans.
It's like, hey, what is more important to your new sports game that you're working on, gameplay or sound? It's like
it's silly
gameplay?
Stuff like that. Yeah, it's silly stuff like that. There's also
or
as
I don't know, one of the options also, like, I don't know
is not an option in the PC.
Oh, it is in the
it is not.
Some of the questions like that on the mobile one, you can actually just say I don't know.
Huh. I'll be dipped. That's neat.
Which is kind of funny. And I don't know if that gives you any kind of bonus or anything, because I know if you like, so it's interviews like that are used for marketing for the games. So like if you're developing something that, like, if you're developing an action game and it's like graphics or something that make an action game perform better, and your choice is between like story and quests and graphics, which stories apparently don't make action games sell better. But graphics do, and you pick graphics, it'll generate more hype for your game and more people will eventually buy it, which is
so there's a certain hype meter, and as you grow in popularity or go to the I'm sorry, is it G3 in this, or because I know it's a parody of E3?
It's like everything in this game is a parody, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful, honestly. And so you go to G3 and you can invest in a small booth, either a table, a small booth, or a large booth.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll get enough money, you get the large booth, and your quest is to become the #1 booth in the entire G3. And you can eventually get to a point where it's just a given that you will be the largest booth at G3.
Yeah.
It goes from like, for the early 80s until the future from today, when the next Xbox or PlayStation console comes out.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you definitely, there's a lot of time you can sink into this game.
Yeah. And then, like, between making games, you do research on like improving your game development, unlocking new genres to make games in,
improving your engine that you're going to research and develop.
Eventually you take the stuff that you've researched. So if you're like, oh, hey, I want to learn how to make stereo sound, so you make stereo sound. Well, then you have to build an entirely new engine that actually uses the stereo sound and
Yep.
incorporates all of this other stuff. And like yeah, it's really interesting, like some of the choices you have to make with that. And then eventually you have to like manage employees and give them
Yep.
time off and train them to improve their skills. And always you basically do postmortems on your game to learn from them, to learn like what performs better.
Yep.
um it, there's
There's
there's a surprising amount of depth to the game that makes
it
it
is.
really really complex really quickly if you're not paying attention.
And it's especially easy to fall into a pitfall of not making enough money off of games and then moving into a new office to hire new employees and then having to pay for the rent for that office as well as the new employees and then
Yeah.
just into a fatal spiral of, oh gosh, I've spent too much money, please help.
Yeah, that's eventually what happened to me. Was like that gameplay, the game that I sent you the stuff on, that I went into the death spiral on, is I upgraded and then I quickly picked up 3 employees, and then each employee was making like 30 grand a month, and
Yep.
like the rent was 30 grand a month. So it's like just I'm hemorrhaging like $100,000 a month and trying to like build these games that are making me like a couple $1 million. And
So you went the id Software route.
yeah, basically.
Sorry, id Software. We still love you. I
Yes.
still love you. um, but there's also the like as you evolve your engine and get new and better versions of it, you can choose to give away the engine, sell the engine to your fans, or
Yeah.
not do it at all, and they'll eventually pirate the engine.
Yeah.
So,
And you can also like there's also weird things that crop up in the game where like fans will start making fan made games based on your technology and like
yep,
using your assets and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And they give you a choice to like have your
Litigate,
lawyers tell them to
yeah.
stop, or let ignore them and let them keep going. And like
What do you do in those situations?
so in a lot of them, like lately I've just been saying like, hey, it's cool, because like so the basically the gist is like I think you end up, I don't know what ends up happening if you tell them to stop, but if you kind of ignore them and let them keep making their game, like you get more fans,
Hmm.
because people are like, oh, this company is really cool. Which is the same thing if you open source your source code when it gets old,
Yep,
like
you'll gain a lot more fans.
you get a lot more fans because they love you for making your source code open.
Yeah,
So I don't know, it's kind of cool.
that is a tip. Do those things seriously, because the other options you'll generally lose fans.
Yeah, because they think
A
you're
lot of fans.
an ass corporation.
Yep.
But I
They'll
don't know, like
basically think you're yeah.
yeah. My last few playthroughs, I haven't even been like like just I one of the fun things in the game is like making joke names for all of the stuff. Um
Mhm.
I also think it's funny that like there's a research task eventually to make a sequel to a game.
Yes.
But the funny part is like if you're anything like me, all of your games have been sequels to one another. Like you've been calling them like, you know, Truck of Doom 3 and Truck of Doom 4 and Truck of
Yeah.
Doom
Yeah.
5. And then like, oh, I can make sequels now. So what have I been doing so far?
So long story short with that is that it actually gives you the ability to hype it up even further because people are
Yeah, yeah.
anticipating a new sequel. Just okay, pro tip for you guys. Don't make sequels too close together or people
Yes.
will get tired of them very quickly and you'll lose fans and the game will be critically panned.
Yep.
I'm looking at you, Assassin's Creed.
Yes. Basically, the biggest tip in the game is to like never repeat a genre or a style of game. So if you make, like a comedy casual game, your
Mhm.
next game shouldn't be a comedy game and it shouldn't be a casual game. Both of those things need to change. So like the next game you make a transportation simulation game,
Yeah.
and then
You
you make, like a survival horror game, or,
so you can do
a horror
those.
action game.
The thing with it is that you need to be very precise on where you put your sliders. So
Yeah.
as you gain more experience with those, you can do like a comedy game, but just don't make it a casual game. You can continue doing the same type of games. It's just that you have to change one of the values, not just both.
Yes. but yeah, you make the most difference when you change both. At least
Yes, absolutely.
that's the advice that I was given.
Yep. And it's very good advice. I'm just saying that it's possible to do so. You just have to be very experienced at the game and know what the heck you're doing. So don't try and do that until a little while down the line when you realize that, hey, I've beaten the game. I'm pretty adept at this.
Yeah, it's fun.
I
I
enjoy
I
it.
I definitely enjoy it. It's fun to just kind of putz around with for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I,
It's definitely like great on mobile. I would I would almost advise buying it on mobile rather than on PC. But again, I've never played it on PC, but I'm it's evidently is the exact same experience. So
it is a very similar experience. I like the PC interface, but I also can see where it is absolutely perfect for a mobile interface. And it
yeah.
seems like it'd be a great pooping game
Yes.
because you can just consume it really quickly and just go back to whatever you need to do.
Hmm. Yeah, I can agree there.
So what do you think? Is there a lot of replay value to it? I think
And
there is.
that was my gonna be my question to you.
Um,
How much replay value do you feel there is for the game? Because there's a point where once you learn the nuts and bolts that are going on behind the scenes, it seems very formulaic.
it is incredibly formulaic.
So like once you learn that, like, for example, the only things that matter when you're making a casual game are gameplay, level design, graphics, and then to a lesser degree sound.
Yeah.
And like that no matter when you make a casual game, those are the things you focus on.
Hmm.
Like, does that make the game more boring to you? Or, I mean, is it worth still playing just to see how much money you can make when you min max things even better?
So there's going to be a point where you're going to have done all the things. Like you're going to
Yeah.
have a point. You're going to get to a point where you're like, okay, I've done everything. I think I'm done. However, I think there is replay value in the fact that getting to a point where you can do all those things within the 42, 35, or 30-year time limit,
Yeah.
that's where things are going to get replay value. Like challenging yourself, coming up with new
Yeah.
challenges for the game. That's where the replay value comes from, not necessarily from the formulaic gameplay, because it does get to a point where you're like, hey, I know this, this, and this. Like these are the sliders where I need to put them, and I'm
Yeah.
good.
One of the things that I did earlier today is I challenged myself on a playthrough to do to only use the four genres you start with. So
That's a
like
great challenge.
never research any more stuff, just always start with those four types, and basically you have to micromanage switching back and forth between them, but then it also like really you super heavy on RNG on what those four ones you start with are. Um and then one of the things that I noticed that was kind of funny is that like sometimes things don't make sense. Um, for example, uh, a lot of the early consoles,
Mhm.
the best genre to make for them is casual games,
Right.
or the best style of game is a casual game,
Right.
including the Game Boy, which is called the Gameling, I think, in this.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
It is.
one of the genres that makes really good casual games is dancing games. I made a dancing game for the Gameling and it made like $3 or $4 million.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work. Like, how does a dancing game work for the original monochrome Game Boy?
I I don't know, man. I got nothing. I got nothing.
I have no idea either, but it entertained me so much that I had to do it.
Sure. I'm sold. I'd give it a shot. I can't guarantee it'd be good, but
Like,
I'd play it.
I don't even know what that gameplay would be like, because the
I
only, like, when I think about dancing game, I think about games like DDR, obviously, Just Dance,
Mhm.
20 whatever year it is. Uh, Samba de Amigo is might be the weirdest dancing game I can think of, which isn't really a dancing game; it's just a rhythm game. But like those are the dance games I think of, like Pump It Up, and DDR and yeah, Let's Dance.
Yeah,
But like I don't know how that would work for Game Boy.
yeah, like the Wii's Just Dance. At least she had the two wands.
Yeah. But it made me laugh so much to make that game.
I don't even know. I I'm trying to wrap my head around that. Honestly, would it be like a Guitar Hero thing or?
But like it got like rated 9 stars from people, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is amazing."
Oh, actually,
Uh,
yeah, that would probably be the good thing. Like maybe it's just a rhythm game, really, where you
yeah,
just boop, 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 boop.
yeah, but I have no
Jesus,
idea how it would be an actual dancing game, which
I
is
don't
what
know, man.
makes me laugh. Oh, it was so good. And just the funny part is like reading the reviews that are coming back, like, this is the most amazing combination of things I've ever played in my life. And it's like,
Are you
none
sure?
none
Have
of
you
this
played
makes
anything
sense.
else ever?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Makes me laugh so much. But yeah, like, but that's what I think is one of the fun things about this game. And one of the things I think it would actually be really good for this game
Mm,
is if you had a decent size audience for streaming, this would be perfect
yeah,
because as you're playing it, people can throw out suggestions, people can name games, they can, you can make, funny stuff like sequel names and all kinds of other ridiculousness, and like you could have a lot of fun with audience interaction with this one, I think.
absolutely, absolutely. It'd be a lot like playing Deal or No Deal kind of thing, where people
Yeah.
suggest various items. Um, Honestly, I would absolutely recommend just giving it a playthrough. I mean,
Yeah.
even at $10, it's still worth your time for PC, and definitely the mobile seems like a great experience too. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
play it.
let me see if I can find out what it actually costs right now on iOS.
Here, I'll just look it up on Android real quick. Got my phone right with me.
It looks like it's 4.99,
Yep, $5 on Android as well.
and you can see some screenshots on there too.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a nice WYSIWYG situation.
yeah, it's got 8,000 ratings and it's 4.9 out of 5 stars. Like,
Yeah, the visuals are slightly different, but it's game Dev Tycoon. I mean, that's
yeah,
what you get.
it's very very colorful
Mhm.
and a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It's definitely just a fun little kind of, you're chilling on the couch and you got some time, click some things, have enjoy.
That's interesting.
What?
So I'm sorry, I'm looking through my phone real quick, and this is just a complete aside. Wargroove is coming out fairly soon for PC, Switch, and Xbox One. It's gonna have crossplay between them at launch,
Okay,
which is neat. Like that, this doesn't happen often.
I don't know what Wargroove is.
It's a strategy game from the
Oh,
developers who helped out making farm game Stardew Valley,
oh, okay,
Chucklefish. Anyway,
cool.
you've anything else to go with for Game Dev Tycoon?
No, I thought it was a lot of fun. I definitely recommend it for mobile, especially for $5. Like,
For the
it is worth it is a definitely worth $5. You'll get $5
Yeah,
out of this game
yeah. I
easy.
mean, it's worth the same. It's worth the regular price on PC as well, which is $10. Although you're going to get a different experience, I don't think it's going to be a diminished experience. So probably play it on mobile. It's
This review, oh holy crap, this review is ridiculously long. But I'll just like, the first couple was like, first off, this is an awesome game. I now have more respect for game creators, and dang, competition is tough. And then there's like just going on this big rant about employees and all kinds of other crazy stuff.
nice, nice.
It's great. But yeah, definitely worth picking up.
Yeah, absolutely. At either price point, yeah, I don't think you'd regret it,
Yeah.
especially if you like any sort of tycoon game.
Yes.
But
And again, highly recommend picking it up for mobile because even if like I said, if you have a decent sized screen on your phone, it's great.
yeah, absolutely. All right. If you want to get in contact with us, hit us up. Oh,
we have to. We need to have a little talk.
Mm,
We have another game to pick.
oh, all right. I'm interested. Tell me more.
How do you feel about our next game being Subnautica?
Having not played it, I'm interested. I watched you play it for a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm willing to give it a shot. Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. So, for our next game that we'll play for our, game corner, we're gonna do Subnautica because, well, one, Epic gave it away, and
Yeah, it was free.
two, it's a good game, and we should play it.
Sure. I'll give it a shot. I haven't played it yet, but I'll probably stream it.
Yeah, they actually have a big expansion hitting, well, like a spin-off game hitting early access here in the next couple weeks. So that's interesting too.
All right.
It's
Interesting.
it takes place on one of the poles of the planet and where
Oh, okay.
there's just tons of ice and stuff. So
Okay.
it's kind of
Yeah.
an interesting idea.
Fair enough. I wish it
Yeah.
was multiplayer.
Yeah,
That is my only thing that I'm like. This game seems like it would be fun multiplayer
probably. I
because it
agree.
reminds me very much of like any of the other survival crafting games.
Yes.
That's just you're doing this alone. Good freaking luck. I'm
We'll
sure there's
talk.
a reason for that, but we'll
Yeah,
talk about that later.
we'll definitely talk about it, but I don't think the game would be as creepy if you had other people there with you. Because
Yeah.
the game gets very creepy just because it's water. Like there's open ocean
Yeah.
is creepy, especially when you can't see
Yeah.
the bottom and you don't know what danger is lurking. And it
That's fair.
has some tricks that give you claustrophobia. And yeah, it's fantastic in that capacity.
All right. So next game we're doing is Subnautica. Um, if you want to get in touch with us, feel free to send us an email at the podcast at loadedcartgaming.com email. If you want to reach me, I am at PAULCLEWELL on Twitter. At Dan over there runs at Loaded Cart and at Chop the Viking. And if you want to see us stream, I do Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on Fridays, I usually go until about midnight with D&D. And it's over at twitch.tv/what's Paul playing today. And he's over at twitch.tv/Chop the Viking. What is your stream schedule, sir? So I know it changes a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I changed it to it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from about 10 p.m. Eastern until I stop, which is usually around midnight-ish.
Fair enough. And if you want to find us on social media, all the links are in the show notes at loadedcartgaming.com. And if you love us, please consider leaving a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you're listening to us. It really does help us help other people find the show, helps us grow, and word of mouth. Honestly, we don't currently pay to advertise or anything like that, so it's the biggest thing you can do to help us out. Just listening, giving us a review, all that stuff. It's great things. And please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/loadedcartgaming. And if you could remind us where the merch is.
The merch is now officially available at loadedcartgaming.com/merch.
Perfect.
Indeed.
And if there's nothing else,
The only thing I would throw out is this is our 4th episode back. So after this episode goes live, I think we will be turning the Patreon back on.
Yep.
And if it's cool with you, I think the idea we should do is basically just we'll charge per episode since we're putting out about 1 episode a month.
Sounds good to me.
That way it won't be a monthly. Well, it'll be a monthly thing, but let us know if you'd rather us do it on just like the first of the month or just every time we release a new episode. Because then,
Yeah. I mean, it'd probably be a little bit more predictable to do first of the month, but
yeah,
it's really up to you guys. Tweet at us or send us an email at podcast@loadedcartgaming.com. And if there's nothing else,
no, that'll be it.
all right, folks. Thank you so much for listening. We love you. And here's some smooth jazz to play you out. Yeah,
I mean, you
sure.
picked it up from the Epic Store, right?
Maybe.
Oh, good lord. Paul, what are you doing, man? He's
I
checking
need
to
to
make sure.
remember the fucking. I need to remember what I used here. I don't know. I don't know what I signed in with. Okay, signing in now. Apparently, I used Google. Okay, come on. Open. Open now. Games library. Yes, it's there. I
All right,
promise. See, right there.
beautiful.
So yeah, sure, why not?
All right, so for our next game that we'll play for our game corner, we're gonna do Subnautica.